सर्वधर्म स्वरूपिणे अवतार वरिष्ठाय रामकृष्णाय ते नमः.
Yes, This song is called Be the Change, inspired by the words of Mahatma Gandhi, who lived for peace and not violence, and told us to be the change we wish to see in the world. Freedom's calling, I feel the fire that's deep inside us. Everybody wants change, but tell me who will guide us. To the leaders that passed away, put up your lighters. It's a beautiful struggle, but it cannot divide us. We're the ones that we've always been waiting for. See yourself in the mirror and open up the door. Walk through it and feel the love throughout your pores. Be the light, life's purpose is to feel joy. Metaphysical, lyrical, standing up for truth. The only one to make change is walking in your shoes. Be the example, don't complain about the news. Making music and serving the world with the loo. Now you can be the same, or you can be the change. Find strength from inside, break through the chains. No one to blame, nothing to prove. You create your reality, it's up to you. Be the change
that you wanna see in the world. Like Gandhi, live for peace,
aspire to peace.
Someone who fights for the beliefs like Martin Luther King.
Aspire to be
that Lord,
that light,
like Christ, for the moment in need.
And if you believe
in Jehovah,
Allah,
Buddha,
Krishna,
it's up to me.
My soul yearns for peace in a world that's flooded with war. History's littered with violence.
Wow, I'll tell you what, I planted my garden 2 times, well, maybe almost 1.5 times now, and it's raining and raining and raining. I'm thinking, I talked to an old-timer the other day, and I'm talking a guy that's been planting here in the Great Northwest for over 50 years. And he says, no, you shouldn't be planting yet. You need to wait till like next Thursday. And this guy's like in his mid-70s, and something else. These guys, I guess they feel it in their bones. And I don't think he even uses an almanac. He just looks out the window and says, nope, it's not ready to plant yet. So I think I'm going to take his advice. Maybe he's starting. Bringing some of that old 100th Monkey wisdom back. So you're listening to the 100th Monkey Radio with Tom and Ramon, and I'm struggling with my garden, my botany skills, and I'm having a couple of issues.
Me and you both.
Yeah, I tell you what, last year, Ramon, I built a plastic thing over the top of my garden. After being drowned out really bad, I decided to cover it, and I was able to get the garden going after I did that. But this year I was like, oh, spring came around, and we had a couple of weeks that were just absolutely gorgeous up here. And I was like, oh, this is going to be a good year. I felt it all through my bones. This is going to be an awesome year. And boy, were my bones wrong. But no, I think most of the stuff is actually doing pretty good for as much rain and drizzle as we're getting. Right now, boy, it just started the cloud burst again on us here. And I don't know, the weather's been pretty crazy. So how's it in Japan?
Well, it's nice and rainy. We had a nice day yesterday, but then late night it started raining, so this morning is all crappy.
I've been thinking about this for a while here, and I don't know if my suspicion is really supported by fact or not, but it just seems like the last couple of years the weather has been exceptionally poor for this area. As far as the amount of gray that we've gotten versus years prior to that. And I don't know if it's more because I'm focusing on it more and paying more closer attention to what's going on, or if it's actually backed up by the records. But I don't know. There's a lot of people out there in the YouTube world and the conspiracy world and whatever world you want to talk about that are paying close attention to it, and they raise a big red flag anytime any kind of a storm comes up, and especially if it's if it's in a circular pattern, look out, it's harp rings, or that sort of thing. But I gotta go. Maybe there's a possibility for all of that stuff, but I don't know. Was it like that prior to all these people paying attention to it? That's the big question I have to ask.
Yeah, I would agree with you there. But on to some little different stuff really quickly. We still have the Pythagoras conference that will be in October. So any of you guys that are going to that's in Horseshoe, Southern Indiana. You can purchase your tickets from us, and that helps support the show. Also, you're going to a special conference yourself, aren't you?
Right. ECETI is having their annual conference. It is going to be June 29th through July 2nd or 3rd, something like that. And if you're interested in going to that, then you should contact Nate and Jana at ECETIreservations.org. They can hook you all up there. Ramon, we don't have a link to that on the site, do we?
We have a link only to the ECETI.
By the time you guys hear this show, we will have a direct link to the ECETI reservation email anyways. So you have easy access to that. We've been pulling in guests that are speakers are going to be at the ECETI conference, and tonight's no exception. We've been, last week we had, or a couple of weeks ago, we had Master Tian Jia Mu, and wow, that show just knocked my socks off.
Yeah, that was a really good show. She's just amazing, and she's such a sweetheart.
And let's see, who else do we have coming up? We have our guest tonight, and then we have Renato Longato coming up. And we are also going to try to bring in James Gilliland before the conference date, but we haven't quite got that one set up yet. So, Ramon, who have we got tonight?
We have John Kelly. John Kelly, I had the pleasure of meeting the first year I went up there, and then saw him again the second year. John Kelly is an international clinician and a world-famous speech analyst who released key intelligence pertaining to the Iraq War 2 years in advance of the shock and awe strikes against Baghdad in 2003. As a former feature producer for CBS Radio with experience in #1 rating U.S. television, his works exploring consciousness, communications, the paranormal, and UFOs. Phenomena have been featured in U.S. Today, Dallas Morning News, Florida Today, Wall Street Journal, Independent, i.e., UC Irvin Today, Coast to Coast AM, Fox News, CBS Radio, and television's CBC, BBC London. This one I cannot read.
Deutschland Radio, Berlin, AOL News, UFO Digest, and Forbes.com.
And now the 100th Monkey.
Yeah, now the 100th Monkey. John Kelly, welcome to the 100th Monkey.
Hey, Tom and Ramon, it's great to be with you guys.
Oh, man, I've met you several times over there, and I've just been totally impressed with the work that you've done in all the fields that you have your fingers in, but the backwards speech just actually knocked my socks off.
Is that right?
But yeah, that stuff I've always found amazing. Ever since when was it? In the 80s when somebody picked up the stuff on the Led Zeppelin album going backwards. Ever since that I became aware of that reverse speech thing has really piqued my interest.
Well,
so anyways, John, we want to start off with first of all, a little bit about yourself. What actually got you into looking into this type of stuff? Were you're some form of clinician or running speech clinics or something like that? Is that what got you into the reverse speech?
No, I work as a therapist, but my long-term interests were in yoga and meditation sciences, which are acoustically based and involve expressions of the human voice. And so I pursued those studies. I've been a practicing meditation practitioner for over 30 years. And when I saw the applications for the voice in an emerging Western science, I took an interest because of my understanding of the ancient Sanskrit culture and the practices that have been conducted from that culture and extending into the modern day. It was simply an area that's still emerging in the West, people's appreciation for the sciences from ancient Asia. But I saw application in the West, and I realized that it would be a good path, so I felt directed to take up the cause of those studies and pursue that kind of research.
So let me make sure I understand this. Now they didn't actually study like the reverse patterning in sound in our history?
Well, I'm talking about ancient Sanskrit culture and the focus on the use of mantra, the recitation of sounds.
Okay.
In a form that's called mantra. And mantra has special characteristics, psychological and in terms of human energy and so on, as well as other characteristics that I've displayed photographically through my own independent research. These mantra studies that I conducted through long-term intensive meditation practices over 30 years, I was successful in journeying through the classical yoga stages as described in texts like Patanjali's Yoga Sutras, the 8 limbs of yoga. I was successful in navigating the 8 limbs. So my understanding, though, was that yoga is a very rigorous and disciplined path. And people in the West are generally not seeking more rules. They're actually looking for more freedom.
Right.
But marrying the two ideas with an understanding that, that a discipline can be a path to a certain form of freedom that's not accessible through conventional living. People who can accept that and embrace that will go on a disciplined path like classical yoga. But in the West, a clinical intervention can serve similar purposes and affect similar or related results in terms of the release of energy and access to higher consciousness. If you read the biographies of the great spiritualists throughout human history, you'll know that they trod on very difficult paths.
Right.
And the prophets of peace were never met without resistance. So if you read the spiritual biographies, you understand that the suffering and the personal sacrifice that accompanied the great ascensions of consciousness and wisdom and understanding and insight that were gained through those journeys. And we can say also in the clinical field that people will seek out an intervention at a time of a crisis. It's most common to find a patient in a clinic at a time when they most need help, not necessarily when the symptoms of something first begin to emerge, but when it may have erupted into a more difficult situation. So this crisis, we can see parallels in the life of everyday people, in the ups and downs of everyday life. We can see the parallels of those who were able to capture the momentum of those crises and translate those into ascensions in consciousness and elevated evolution, human spiritual development, and so on. Those great spiritual personalities of the past. So there are parallels, and there is always hope for people who are suffering. In other words, because there is resolution. From a philosophical perspective, there is ultimate resolution to every karma, every difficulty of our human life, every up and down. Those waveforms eventually are resolved, and we can play a role in the resolution of those issues in our lives. We can become active participants if we choose to resolve all of the issues of our lives, all of the things that brought us here, so to speak, that is for expression and for human life that brought us to incarnate in these lifetimes. Mm-hmm. We can express them and resolve them in one lifetime. And this is what's taught in pathways like Zen Buddhism and in Chan Buddhism, Chen Buddhism. Taoism talks about the flow, re-emerging and harmonizing with the flow, the Tao. or the rasa lila is described in Vaishnava Tantra, like Krishna's lila is the game of life, the play, the joyful expression of creation. Understanding it from these philosophical concepts in a practical way, people who meditate actually experience these things directly, but through a clinical intervention, someone who has walked that path is able to translate some of those benefits to the average person on the street.
Right.
So this is part of, what comprises a spiritual philosophy is that people who have had great success, have tasted greatness in their lives, want to see that that expression of greatness isn't limited, but becomes unlimited and available to all. That everyone everyone in life has a chance, to achieve something great with their lives and to become great people. It's within all of us to do this, and so when people have individual success, they hope that they can somehow translate that into service to the rest of humanity and become a part of a society that is moving towards an evolution, a positive future, helping everybody along the way, and hopefully to help mitigate some of the suffering and the hardship that exists in our world. I mean,
right.
Not everybody's garden is growing as well as their neighbors. So.
Right. So in the therapy work that you're doing with people, have you actually used the reverse speech stuff as a diagnostic type tool?
Yeah, essentially the intervention involves that practice, and so it's collecting an interview from a participant in a session, usually a 10-minute interview, and then translating that through a filter, which involves the use of a mirror on a digital audio workstation. So we're mirror filtering audio signals, and then we are attempting to detect intelligent communications in the reflections of the speech signal.
Wow.
So it's that reflection that we're studying. And it's not unlike an astronomer who'll use a reflector telescope. They're not actually interpreting the photons as they came directly from space, but rather they're interpreting the photons, the reflections of those photons off of a mirrored surface.
Right.
So the mirror's use in scientific studies and observation is standardized and well understood practice. But what's not as well understood in the West necessarily is the use of reflective surfaces and mirror gazing, so to speak, as in the practices of a mystic such as a Nostradamus.
Right.
Reflective surface to anticipate future events. In South Asia, the use of mirrors and foresight gained with the assistance of a mirror. Some reflections of that, of course, are found in the Feng Shui mirror, which is a common implement in the Chinese mystical practice. But in the Tantra tradition that I studied, there was precedent for people who had tremendous powers of accessing information with the aid of a mirror. And so in a sense, my following a path that would use such a method is actually in line with the yogic practices that I follow. You see, symbolically, it's quite simple that the face of the unconscious is understood through an act of reflection.
Right.
When people engage in meditation, that they will come to know the truth. And in the absence of a direct meditation, an intervention utilizing reflective properties can be demonstrated and proven to be very helpful for people accessing unconscious information. But beyond the acoustical studies, I've performed visual studies as well, where I've recorded photographic impressions during the recitations of Sanskrit mantras that also reveal the mirror symmetry that I claim to have identified in human speech in the acoustic studies. Visually, I can demonstrate these phenomena as well as artifacts or signatures of phenomena of the human voice that are little understood in conventional science or academic science. But my demonstrations, my evidence is a lot of it has been conducted in public. So I have hundreds of thousands of witnesses and real timelines that are scientific. People can measure my results and my performance. I can demonstrate these phenomena very briefly in short term. I can produce a result within only a couple of minutes, and I can do this on camera on the 6 o'clock news. So I'm talking about real phenomena, and I'm talking about real potential, real human potential for opening windows into consciousness, accessing new levels of creativity and insight. All of these things are within our grasp, and I'm offering, as a clinician to provide that as a service to others. But I'm also saying that we need to take courage from within ourselves and to believe in ourselves and our inner ability to resolve the issues of the day. We have it within us, and mine is a positive message that says, yes, we have all of that and more.
Right. This is a field that, boy, its potential hasn't even really been begun to be tapped. Just from what I've seen, the work that you've done already is, I don't know. My mind just kind of goes off in 100 different directions on the application of this sort of thing. As far as, what the healing properties that it has can be just astounding. So yeah, oh man. Are there any other researchers out there really jumping into this and trying to understand this similar to the way you're working on it?
Well, there are over 10,000 people who had acquired instrumentation to conduct these practices using analog devices that I knew of. So I'd have to say, yeah, there's worldwide. A lot of people have been exposed to this. This was a topic that was popularized by Art Bell year after year in the 1990s. So millions and millions of people heard about this research. It's not exactly a new topic for me to introduce it on the show tonight, but
right.
People have been pursuing it. I would have to say that in terms of practitioner level work, though, I would be one of the premier practitioners in the world in this area. I'm not familiar with other people with advanced degrees or professional clinical practices who are generating results at the same level in terms of the rate of information gathering or the verification of the information that they're observing. I'm doing all of that. So we've yet to see, in fact, the realization of the full potential in terms of how many practitioners could emerge bring different skills to bear on this subject and refine and evolve the methodologies and procedures. I've developed a working set of procedures that I can apply consistently. I'm entirely open to the idea that someone will come and revise everything in terms of the way I do it and do an even better job. And I hope to see that. I hope that the people will be inspired to take up studies like these that are interdirected, that are simple in the sense that they rely on available resources like human speech, that they're non-invasive, that people can casually reveal the information without being subjected to extreme pressures or circumstances. I'm inspired to think that people will take up a cause when they see benign and sentient practice, that they will understand that it provides for a lot of the causes that people are using other methods, and in many ways inferior methods, either technically or morally inferior methods that are being used to achieve the same results. If we really wanted the information that's within us, there are direct ways to get it, and certainly this study is one of them.
So what actually took you to the was there anything that sparked you to make you want to research, to go into yoga in the first place? Was there something that prompted you there?
I had a lot of life experiences that were inexplicable, and my yoga studies provided a structural framework and a way of living that allowed me to maximize the potential to further those experiences and to understand them through direct contact. So through my spiritual evolution, I was led to that path.
No, so it wasn't the proverbial 2x4 upside the head that made you start asking the questions.
I experienced profound events from early in life that intellectually were beyond the realm of what was being taught in schools, or I could find references to these things in books. But I was pushed by pressure of circumstances beyond the conventional realm of understanding that's in today's society. I experienced things that are beyond the canon of contemporary thought in the mainstream. And so in the absence of a philosophical structure within which to understand those events, I was eventually, through different readings, I was given the understanding that people who had studied yoga practices in the Sanskrit culture, the Shaivite culture, the Vaishnava culture, those people, I would be able to benefit from those studies as well. And as I pursued them intensively, I realized the full benefit of those studies.
Would you care to share some of those experiences that you had that brought you there?
Well, when I was, there were so many different things. I think it was probably just the continuous novelty of new things that would happen to me. But as I was a young person and I was growing up at school as an adolescent, I pursued intensive studies in music. And I was featured in the national paper in Canada, the Globe and Mail, when I was 16, alongside Jeff Healey, who went on to become a very prominent blues guitarist, when we were both still in high school. I had the opportunity to play and perform with many very talented people some who went on to become major international recording stars. So I was exposed to a lot of music, and I pursued it very vigorously. I think maybe 8 to 12 hours a day I was practicing at the expense of my high school studies. I was practicing a musical instrument. And the acoustic impact of those studies triggered a lot of phenomena within me, including what I perceive to be the movement of what is referred to as the Kundalini. So I had a lot of these Kundalini experiences as a teenager, and I had different types of Kundalini experiences. I had very gentle experiences, and I also had experiences that woke me up in the middle of the night. So I had a gamut of experiences with the Kundalini that were personal to me, and that they rocked the foundations of my understanding of my life, in the sense that some of the experiences were kind of extreme, or they pushed me psychologically to extreme points, and challenged me, to re-examine my life and to try to have some kind of understanding. And so, although I grew up in relative comfort in a middle-class lifestyle in a very West Coast city, Vancouver, British Columbia, I was encountering phenomena that were pushing me to look beyond, the immediate world, my family, my schooling, my community. I had to seek answers and education from far beyond, and eventually it was the pressure of the need to understand what was happening in my life that I finally consented to formal studies and took an initiation on a yoga pathway in my mid-20s. So encounters with the Kundalini mean that transcendent phenomena can be observed in the presence of a person who's encountering such movements of energy and consciousness within themselves. Not only subjectively will they have perceptions that will be different from everyday functioning of their vision or their sense of feeling or their hearing, but they will also have transcendent sensations of enhanced consciousness where they have perceptions beyond the normal.
Right.
But that may include encounters with entities in various forms, like luminous forms, spiritual entities. All these different kinds of encounters along a variety of dimensions accompany that kind of growth and development. And again, in our the school system, while I was experiencing those phenomena, I wasn't receiving any education in the classroom that was explained to me what was going on.
Right.
I was really, experiencing things that were understood in other cultures, but not the culture into which I was born. So I was challenged to look beyond, the philosophical underpinnings of Western society, and to seek answers to phenomena which to me were intensely real and became very important. I had to understand and resolve within myself why these things were happening.
There's a lot of people that are right in these last couple of years. There's just been a tremendous amount of people who have begun to have those types of experiences, and they are luckily now in this day and age we have a resource such as the internet. I know when you and I first started on our paths that there was no such thing, and if you wanted to go learn something, you had to you go to the library, or you had to go to some source to find it. But now there are some amazing resources on the net for people to try to understand what is this vibration moving through my body, what is this feeling I'm having. They can get on the internet and find some excellent resources. If somebody came up to you and said, "Hey, I have just had this amazing experience in my body, and I don't understand what's going on," where would you direct them to go?
Well, I'd direct them to go within, of course. The answer lies within. I mean, people have all kinds of desires. They have intellectual curiosity, or they actually have a need to know. I mean, there's different levels of understanding with these things. You know, we're talking about something that's fairly high voltage. It's kind of like talking about playing with transmission wires in your backyard, except it's inside of our own bodies. So there has to be some, freedom of access to information, and at the same time there also has to be a sort of a formalized pathway to guide people. We don't just give surgeons scalpels and send them out and do as you will. They follow a code of ethics, for example, like harmlessness, before they receive their medical license. And so the same thing applies, that we may have a casualness due to the plethora of information and ideas that surround spiritual topics and the accessibility, as you said. We have this global library now on the internet. There's a lot of ideas being expressed, but the pathway that I chose emphasized the values of human instructors and in-person instruction, which tied into my musical career, because I had at least 25 musical teachers in private instruction. I pursued them individually for lessons. I pursued a path that involved encounters with teachers, not just reading about music in a book, but actually spending time with the teacher and accessing flows of information that aren't found in writing. So there is supplementary education that can't be discerned from the printed word, but it can be gained through the encounter with the living teachers. And it was the same in the yoga path, because I studied under monks. I trained in meditation under renunciants. I didn't just read a book. I spent time with the monks and did a lot of meditation with them. So if a person is saying, I need to resolve a crisis, that's been brought about, I've had an experience that's changed my way of life, or my way of looking at life, and I need to find answers, I'd say to them, well, you could meditate, you could read some books. It's really up to you. What do you want to do? Well, do you want to, this could be a great opportunity for you. This could be the moment when you transcend. I mean, from the yoga perspective, this is your millions and millions of years of evolution coming to a resolution. And if you take the leap, you could actually complete the journey. You could do what Patanjali talked about, which was closing the gap between the human and the cosmic consciousness. When they say yoga, they mean union. They don't just mean two hands joining or two people holding hands. They mean the cosmic consciousness and the human consciousness merging into one consciousness. And that's a practical reality understood within the context of Zen, Chan, Taoism, Vaishnava Tantra, Shaivite Tantra. It's all there. It's within us to complete the leap, and without even the aid of any instruments. I mean, people in my clinical practice, people don't come to me so much and say, I'm having this spiritual breakthrough and it's causing me a crisis and I'm breaking down. It's not like that. It's more that people are coming with emotional trauma and unresolved issues in relationships and careers and families. And that's the everyday stuff. So in other words, I'm not treating exotic cases as a clinician. I'm dealing with everyday emotional issues. But if we understand the profound nature of emotions, and we know that what in Sanskrit is called the vrittis, which are the petals of the chakras from a visual perspective, the different harmonic overtones of the fundamental chakra sounds, or these vrittis or emotions. Well, the emotions are a way of accessing the inner dimensions, including the chakras. It's a direct connection between our emotional health and the flows of energy at the chakra nadi level. So it really comes down to what does a person want. Within me, those events meant an awakening of consciousness within me, and that something great was coming into my life, and that I needed to reconcile with that. It wouldn't be something that I could avoid or escape from. In other words, it would be an encounter that was inevitable, and I would be better to find resources that would help me to bring that to resolution. And for me, that practice was to sit in silent meditation, to meditate and to use mantras and recite the mantras and ideate on the meaning of the mantras and to feel the mantras and to become a part of that universal flow and to shift my consciousness and achieve a merger. So that was the solution for me. But for everyone it's different. People are on an evolutionary path. It means they need to go through a lot of ups and downs, which is, I understand the idea of karma, this old idea about cause and effect in our lives. We're constantly, resolving the karma that we started yesterday, and as we resolve that karma, we accumulate a new one. As I walk down the street to get milk from the store, I see a fancy sports car, and now I want that, and on we go, so that the universe continues. But when people want to resolve their karma, they say this up and down, this day and night, this summer, winter, this rain and blue skies, I've had enough. I have a sense there's something beyond this, and that's what I want more than anything else. That's when the chance exists for penetration into realms beyond that. In fact, a resolution, which means a return to the point of existence or the point of origin. You see, a mirror in its most primitive sense, when a Stone Age person encounters a reflection of themselves, they understand that they can also see behind themselves, like the way that a rear view mirror works, that we can see where we came from. So archetypally, the unconscious understands the mirror to mean that there's a perception of where we came from, or the philosophical point of origin. Except that in yoga, in these sciences, the point of origin is no longer philosophical, but becomes empirical and accessible in a real way, not an imaginary way or hypothetical or theoretical way, but in a practical way. People actually complete that journey. That's what really happens. That's the great personalities, from a yogic perspective in human history, are the people who completed the cosmic journey. They became real humans. They became spiritually evolved humans. They became spiritual beings while they had human bodies. They in their lifetimes they closed that gap. And if you can solve that problem, you see that's the most intractable problem of all, is how to comprehend the incomprehensible. If you can resolve that, then certainly all of the other problems can be resolved. And as much as I like these exotic ideas, I'm really a very simple person, and anybody who knows me will understand that. And with all my shortfalls and so on, I was still able to have these experiences and successfully complete that journey. And so I find that I'm somehow able to give inspiration to people who are working through issues that they too have the powers to resolve and achieve the things in their lives to be great people, for sure.
So I'd kind of like to get your we're talking about an ascension process or a completion process for the evolution of our soul here on this plane. I'd kind of like to get your view and how you see this whole thing put together. What is this place that we are living in, and who are we within this place?
Well, you see, the Earth is the launching pad. The human body is the spaceship, and the human consciousness is the cosmonaut. And that's the game. This is the launching pad to complete our spiritual journey. From the most severe yogic perspective, that's all this is. That's all of this is. It's the launching pad to complete the spiritual journey. That's it. That is actually it. The point of this whole existence. There are signs everywhere directing us to go within, complete the journey. It's all around us. This place conspires to enable us to see that the point of our lives is to complete what's within us, is not necessarily all about material acquisition. It's about accomplishing our inner work. And I think that the Stone Age people understood this, and that in our sophistication and our advanced technological society, we've lost touch with our natural spiritual understanding and appreciation and sense of honor about being participants in this world, that we can come here, that we can engage, we can come to this place that was made by a great being, and that we can live in here, and we can know each other through this place and have intense experiences together and do great things. It was a gift that was given to us, but in all of that, all this desire of fulfillment that we want this experience, we want that experience. More than that, to succeed on the spiritual path, we have to want the spiritual fulfillment, the resolution of the reason for our existence. And again, I come back to saying that people encounter that through a lot of hardship. A crisis will alert us to, if I only had, the old standby, if I only had 24 hours to live, what would I do with my life?
Right.
So under those circumstances, people can understand. The hierarchy of values can be adjusted. But those who are fortunate and have access, their family is interested in spiritual development. They have good books available, or good instruction available in their community when they're growing up. They don't necessarily have to encounter it that way. But for the rest of us folks, a lot of us in the West, it will be like that. Our inevitable nature will call to us, and if our lives are out of harmony with that way of being, we'll struggle to reclaim our status, as great beings. We'll have to struggle to get there.
So, do you see the traumas that have to occur, or that do occur, that to bring us back onto the quote-unquote path? Do you see that as more of a, or as sort of a guiding hand that is taking us back out of the Western frame of mind into a more internal frame of mind?
Well, I think that we need both. I think we need a technologically enabled spiritual perspective. So we actually need to integrate the wisdom of our ancestors from the East with the modern scientific and empirical sciences of today in the West. We need both. The West, the culture of the West, having grown up in the West, there's certain absences and voids and vacuums in the culture. There's a lot of form, but substance, substantial.
Well, it's all materialistic. I mean, everything. The way I personally grew up, I mean, there was absolutely no spirituality involved in anything that I was exposed to through my childhood, et cetera, except for the occasional visit to the Catholic Church. But that I really don't consider really much spirituality in either. But the whole program that people are brought up here in is all materialistic, and it was that trauma that I had to experience, or that I personally had to experience, that even brought me to a point where I even started asking questions.
Yes. Well, you were talking about hardship, and if we think about the universe as waveforms, this concept in Vaishnava Tantra about Vishnu's meditating, and these mantras are cyclical, and as the mantras are recited, they generate waves, and these waves are emanating, and what we're experiencing is day and night, up and down, happy, sad, all of these different flows of life and existence are just these waveforms. It's just the nature of the universe, and we're supposed to overcome all of the waves. We're supposed to meet the challenge of the waveforms and harness our great abilities, summon them from within ourselves to overcome the challenge of the day and to climb to the peak of that mountain and overcome that mountain. We're supposed to be those people, the great people who do that. We're not supposed to give up. We're not supposed to turn away from the challenge or shirk our duties. We're supposed to embrace the challenge of the day and become empowered and great people through that, and empower others through that. We have to believe in ourselves. We have to believe in this innate characteristic that we overcome. And this is, in the yogic sense, it means that the consciousness, the cosmic consciousness that was entombed, so to speak, at the crudest point in the human body, breaks free of that prison and expresses its full cosmic capacities in a liberated way. So that's the hardest knot to undo, so to speak, that's encountered in the yogic path. So we say that we have difficulties in everyday life. Yes, they exist, and if there weren't problems that needed to be solved, there'd be no reason for any of this to exist in the first place. So the karma keeps the thing going. It's like you just solve one problem and now another one's coming. Well, that's kind of good, because then we have something to do tomorrow. But people who do intense inner development work, they find that the conflicts of their lives accumulate more quickly. What it means is that the processes are manifesting more or maturing more rapidly because they're energizing the inner development. When they cultivate the inner garden, the flowers and fruits start to come forth, and you get a crop of stuff that lands on your plate. But when you do intensive practices, it all comes at once. You get all at once, you consume it at once, and you resolve it at once. And if you get your consciousness is moving faster than the karma is coming in, that means you consume your karma through your practices faster than you can create it. Then you resolve the karma. The balloon loses all of its ballast and floats off into the sky. That's it. There's no ballast to hold it down anymore. So through facing the challenge of the day, through accepting and embracing the challenge and wrestling with it, we summon from within ourselves the response that resolves it. And there are causes that we may not. There'll be questions that we don't answer in our lifetime. There'll be scientific and medical advances and so on that we won't achieve in this generation. But there will be future generations that will do this, and we ourselves could come back as part of that as well. So ultimately, my message is, everything resolves in a positive way. Everything is going back to this resolution, to the point of origin. That's the tantric perspective. There's a cycle. It has a beginning and it has an end. And we're, this manifestation, this physical reality is just a stage or a phase in it, the human stage. But I'm saying, in the most severe sense, that this planet is just a launching pad for spiritual practices, so that people's consciousness can go back to the cosmic consciousness. That's all it really is.
So what?
So,
go ahead,
okay.
Ramon.
No, I was going to say, so do you find with all the, let me just call them pitfalls that you have, because even, for example, in the East, you'll have all these, they have all these beautiful sayings and practice, and then you have all these pitfalls within, just like you do in Christianity. Do you find that that's part of the learning?
Do I find that pitfalls are part of the educational process, understanding the shortcomings in existing systems and resolving to find better ways as a consequence of that understanding? I think that's normal and natural. And to criticize, social, religious, or other, national structures for their shortfalls is legitimate. But when people are dealing with, when people are engaged in mysticism, that means they've accepted direct responsibility for their spiritual growth and development. It doesn't require the intervention of a priest, for example, to petition God on their behalf. They engage directly with the cosmic consciousness themselves, and so that at that point it's like they've been given the instrument and they're using it. They learn how to ride the bike, and now they're riding the bike. There's no restriction on how far they can ride. They can go all the way. So it's really up to at that point, it really, default in the path, a lot of it can be on the practitioner's side. If they didn't follow the practices, if they didn't really do it, if they didn't row the boat, they didn't cross the lake. I mean, who is to blame for that, right?
Right.
So I think that we'll find there's lots of different communities, and we'll find great people in all those communities who are making different advances and sharing and helping other people. And we have to honor and respect that the world was given to us in many colors and forms. And each of these expressions, people, plant, animal, vegetable, whatever, has its place of honor in the universe. Just as we, as individuals, have a place of honor, we just have to find our place. The whole thing works really beautifully. If we're in our places and doing our duties, we can trust that the rest of it will work out as well. We're part of a working system. We're not part of a big dysfunctional system. All of this is part of a working system, but there will be challenges along the way, and we have to accept responsibility for that. It's great having an automobile, except when you have to pay $5 a gallon for your gas. I mean, what do you want?
Right. So John, what is this force or being or whatever that, as you said, gave this all to us?
Well, I'm a monist, which means I believe in one creator. And that means I'm not a dualist. That means I don't believe in like a creator, let's say like a god and a devil kind of a
right
situation. I don't believe in that. I just believe in one creator, and that's it. So from a Vaishnava perspective, you say that the cosmic consciousness is meditating, and the people who meditate can hear those mantras. When they do their meditation, they wake up at night and they're still hearing the mantras. It's coming from somewhere, and if they follow those sounds, they emerge into that cosmic consciousness. So the cosmic consciousness is the origin point of everything. But in the Tantra philosophy, we talk about something called Shiva Shakti. Shiva Shakti Atmakam Brahma is Sanskrit. It's a sutra. It means that Brahma, or God, is the composite of these two capacities, Shiva and Shakti. Shiva is consciousness, and Shakti is energy. So the merger of consciousness and energy is the understanding of God consciousness. So when a person's Kundalini ascends to the Sahasrara chakra, the top of the crown of the head, the person's merged in infinite bliss. They understand cosmic consciousness because their individual consciousness becomes merged in the cosmic consciousness. It's like the old saying that there's water in the pot, and the pot is in the water. So we have a pot of water, let's say in an ocean. There's water inside the pot, but it's separate from the rest of the ocean. But when we break the pot, the waters merge, and you'll never know which water was in the pot after that. It's over. It's just back.
Right.
It returned to its point of origin. So the cosmic is a cosmic consciousness, but the cosmic consciousness functions as what's called a witnessing entity, Whereas the doer, the one who actually does and makes, makes the world change, is the Shakti, is the energetic principle. Prakriti, Shakti, Maya, those are the Sanskrit names by which that's understood.
So the individuated consciousness, the being that I am calling Tom, this consciousness, this compilation of energy here. Now, I do believe and have had experiences that lead me to come to a certain level of knowing of the reality of reincarnation. Now, one thing that kind of boggles me is the veil that we go through when we are incarnated on this planet to our past memories, and which brings questions into my mind, such as, so if when I leave this place I am that pot that got broke in the ocean, and I am one with the cosmic consciousness, how do I compile myself back into the same individuated being of consciousness to continue on some linear track of progression for my ultimate experience of becoming a free being within this universe?
Well, this is the thing, is that it's a conundrum, because being a free being within this universe is an ironic juxtaposition of ideas that will never happen. There's no real freedom in this system or this existence. We can't be free and be here at the same time. Ultimate freedom is returned, from a tantric perspective, ultimate freedom is returned to a state that there was never any manifestation to begin with, that nothing ever happened, and it was eternal bliss that never changed. Here, as everything changes, we're happy one day, we're sad the next. So there's no real freedom. We're constrained in we're constrained in different ways by our existence here. This is the launching pad. It's not the destination. This is just, we have the resources here to complete the journey and to be liberated. But liberation, in a tantric sense, doesn't mean being here. It means going back to a place where there was never any. It was always infinite bliss that never changed. So, for people who have those experiences and they complete their yogic path, let's say, either they lose their bodies and never come back. Their mind leaves the body and they're gone, and that's it. That's the end of that lifetime, and that's it. And they never reincarnate. Or they retain their body while holding that state of consciousness, and then they have a sense of mission and purpose that they come back with as well. And so the rest of their life is used to complete that mission and purpose.
So how do you see the all the different theories and ideas of the dimensional hierarchy? I mean, as far as the individuated consciousness progressing from third dimensional reality, which we experience here, into fourth, fifth, sixth, seventh, eighth, ninth, whatever.
Well, I agree that there are different dimensions and that they are accessible in different ways, and we can observe the phenomena of dimensional intersections with our material world. We can perceive transitions across dimensional boundaries, for example, in the UFO phenomena. But in terms of actual personal individual access, the Tantra physiology explains that the chakras are also the access points to the different, what are called lokas, L-O-K-A-S. So it's a Sanskrit idea about dimensional realities, different layers of reality. And access to these different dimensions occurs as the Kundalini ascends and the chakras mature and become open and expressed. Then we begin to gain perceptions of other dimensions of reality beyond the 3D, beyond the physical world. So people do have multidimensional experiences, and particularly those can be heightened at with intensive Kundalini awakenings. People can perceive that they're interacting with different dimensions concurrently in their everyday life. And they have to find a way to integrate that, and that, of course, becomes problematic if you're trying to operate heavy equipment.
Right.
So people, if we, in other words, if we're at an incomplete stage, if the Kundalini's ascended and we've achieved a certain state of consciousness where we're accessing perceptions of different dimensions, and that's all fascinating and everything, but then we become dysfunctional in everyday life because we can't manage, we can't drive a car or something like that, then that just says, well, really, we had to complete the journey. We can't be sort of sitting in that limbo. You can't go halfway. You want to complete the journey. And you see, for me, that was the state. I had to resolve that. That was why I had to pursue the yogic path, because my perceptions of reality became so intense. They were intensified due to the intensive Kundalini activity. I experienced intense dimensional perceptions personally. So when people say that they're having perceptions of different dimensions, I accept that philosophically. But of course, people can demonstrate that in different ways, including photographically and with video cameras as well. We see a lot of that kind of material. You know, the internet allows us to share a lot of that kind of material as well. That's real, although not in all the ways that people might think it is. I know Dr. Bruce Cornett participated in studies out in Pennsylvania, New York, upper state New York, in the late 80s, early 90s, where he wrote. He and I had email correspondence at least 12 years ago or so, and he shared with me that he was through those videos and photographic studies, they were getting direct signatures of dinosaurs and things on the cameras.
Wow.
So, and this is, PhD, was, a lucid person, was able to make some, have some intelligent comment on what was going on there. So we see that photographically we're able to produce evidence of, there's the signatures of those other dimensions as well. So again, I'm open to the idea. I come from what some people may perceive as a very limited perspective, because I think 7 chakras are enough. I think 8 limbs of yoga, 7 chakras, it's a working system. I don't need a 26-wheel machine here to complete my journey. I can do it with 7 chakras. I think other people can too, but it's empirical. People have to practice the teachings to realize for themselves. It's not enough that so and so said this is the way it is. It's what we manifest in our own lives. We can go and get a whole bunch of university degrees, but if we never put what we learn to practice, how is sequestering all that knowledge worth anything? We have to apply what we've learned, and Tantra is a practical path, which means that at the beginning it's 90% practice and 10% understanding, something like that. And then as practice matures and we have all the classical experiences for ourselves, then we can go back to the philosophy and say, oh yeah, I know what that means. I know what they were talking about now, because I had this. I know it in a direct way, not because someone told me, because I experienced it myself.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Well, John, we are at the top of the hour, and I just have to say is I am impressed. I haven't had a real opportunity to ever sit down with you and talk, and there's much more to you than I ever imagined. So, what's going on before we pop out of here and go into the second segment? Where can people get a hold of you? Your material? Have you got any new projects going on? I'd be really interested to know if you are working on a book.
I have a lot of concurrent projects going on all at once, and my website is yourinnervoice.com. That's the hub for most of my material, and I have a lot of content linked from there, including my column on Examiner.com called the Vancouver UFO Examiner. It's a very popular column. It gets a lot of readership and distribution. I produce something called Secret Message TV, which is seen on Ustream and YouTube. So fairly popular. I have over 500,000 views on my YouTube channel. I have links to the Secret Message Report, which is my radio feature. I haven't been producing that many podcasts in the last year myself, but people can still find some very interesting interviews with some notable speakers, a variety of content there, also linked from my site. This year I've been working on documentary features. I produced 7 episodes of an online series called UFO Mountain, which focuses on my collection, my 3-year collection of video from the ESETI Ranch. But I also have several other related projects in the works, including UFO Canyon, which focuses on my experiences in a remote location in British Columbia where there's intensive UFO activity, a lot of footage from there. I'm the audiovisual director for Exo University at exouniversity.org, so I'm producing all of the video content, the educational content for that program. And I have I do a lot of ghostwriting and consulting, and so I have clients with projects that are pending, such as books. I produced something called the Trance Report, for example, for a profound medium in Dallas, Texas, Dwana Paul. I have several books, projects in front of me. I have years of transcripts from my clinical work, from the session tapes where people did their profound breakthroughs and catharses and all of those things. I have all the tapes, and the transcripts are being developed. I didn't come into the marketplace with a book in hand. I felt that the yogic sciences have been well explained in voluminous works that were written before.
Right.
But the speech studies, there were challenges to prevailing theories that needed to be addressed in the field, and so I wanted to wait till I had something like 10 years of clinical practice under me before I would reveal what I had learned through that. So I'm at a stage now where I could release a book about that. But I have an entire collection of unique paranormal photographs that haven't been replicated anywhere, and that is work of lasting value on its own that deserves its own coffee table book. And I feature those images in my video productions. So people, certainly I haven't been holding any of that back. But in terms of really cataloging and defining that material, there's much more to be written and said about those works as well. I'm just very fortunate, you see, that I've been graced with the opportunities to participate in these different fields and to get to know some of the great people in these different areas. And I've benefited and learned so much from the support of others who have allowed me and enabled me to have access to large audiences, international media, being a CBS radio feature producer. It's been amazing. I took tremendous risks to be on the path that I'm on, but as a result, I helped a lot of people, and I founded a body of work that is unique and will be useful in future academic and scientific studies for generations to come. I'm doing the real thing, and I'm showing that it's within our grasp for all of us.
Right. Fantastic. Okay, well, guys, we're going to pop out of here and slip on into the members section. So if you would like to hear the second half of this, don't hesitate to become a member of the 100th Monkey Radio and support Ramon and I in bringing this content to you. Ramon, you got anything before we pop off here?
No, I guess I'll save it for the second half.
Okay, yeah. You didn't get your voice in there much that hour.
Well, you were asking questions away, so I just had to let you.
All right. Well, we'll get you in there for the second one. So, condemnation without investigation is the height of ignorance.
Love you denies the pain you carry.
And we love you guys, and we'll see you in the next segment.
Bye-bye.
Yes, This song is called Be the Change, inspired by the words of Mahatma Gandhi, who lived for peace and not violence, and told us to be the change we wish to see in the world. Freedom's calling, I feel the fire that's deep inside us. Everybody wants change, but tell me who will guide us. To the leaders that pass away, put up your lighters. It's a beautiful struggle, but it cannot divide us. We're the ones that we've always been waiting for. See yourself in the mirror and open up the door. Walk through it and feel the love throughout your pores. Be the light, life's purpose is to feel joy. Metaphysical, lyrical, standing up for truth. The only one that makes change is walking in your shoes. Be the example, don't complain about the news. Making music and serving the world with the loo. Now you can be the same, or you can be the change. Thought strength from inside, break through the chains. No one to blame, nothing to prove. You create your reality, it's up to you. Be the change
that you wanna see in the world. Like Gandhi, live for peace, aspire to peace. Someone who fights for the beliefs like Martin Luther King. Aspire to be that love, that light, like Christ, life for the moment in need. And if you believe in Jehovah, Allah, Buddha, Krishna, it's love to me.
My soul
yearns for peace in a world that's flooded with war. History's littered with body scar, trying to settle the score and maintain an archaic platform of power and greed. People fight for land out of survival and need. So I'm killing my television and I'm planting a seed to fill my head with knowledge that I'm seeing receive. Due to the media propaganda, killing my creed. Or what don't kill me make me stronger, feeling straight when I bleed. Fighting for inches before it's attached to feet. They try to say you anything in this world, nothing for free. Land, air, fire, and water, they keep up in the ante, while the anti-proletariat hold the powers to be. But we keep fighting, surviving, and thriving, recycling and rhyming. We constantly inclining, we see through the lying and prying. They happily keep trying to keep you from asking us why.
Be the change that you wanna see in the world, like Gandhi live for peace. Aspire to peace. Someone who fights for the beliefs, like Martin Luther King. Aspire to peace. That love, that light, like Christ. This life for the moment indeed. And if you believe in Jehovah, Allah, Buddha, Krishna, it's love to me.
We find solutions, different possibilities, creating organizations like Aspire to Be, inspiring young minds to see, building life skills, nurturing creativity, fulfilling the youth's basic needs, listening actively, teaching the tools to succeed, positive role models, we plant the seed, the roots drink the water which feed the tree, someone help me, giving back is my responsibility.
Be the change that you wanna see in the world, like Gandhi live for peace. Aspire to peace. Someone who fights for the beliefs, like Martin Luther King. Aspire to peace. That love, that light, like Christ. This life for the